All right, it is launch day here at Invite Press. We are so excited for another book by our good friend Shane Bishop. Shane, congratulations on your second book in the year 2023.
Thanks, man. It's been an absolute joy to work with you and your team, Len.
Oh, it's a joy to work with you too. Here is the book, The Ping Life: How to Pick Up the Signal When God is Calling. This is such a fun book, especially if you pair it with your one that came out in February. They look good together. Nice little combo set there. But today we're going to talk about the Ping Life. This is already getting a lot of fun traction. And today about launch day, what we're trying to do on every launch day, for those of you who are listening and unfamiliar with this process, is today's about Amazon. It's about trying to help the rankings go up in order to get more attention to it. And so Shane and I are going to spend a few minutes here just kind of talking about the Ping Life and what this book is all about. So Shane, tell us a bit about the backstory to this book.
Well, the backstory for me was that I saw so many Christian people who just didn't have joy in their life. Jesus said, I've come that you might have life and have life abundantly. And they just simply weren't living that abundant life. Mm. There was guilt all the time because on one hand, they couldn't save the world. And on the other hand, they couldn't help everybody in the world. And it's sort of like, how are we supposed to go on vacation to the Smoky Mountains when so many people are in need and so many people are lost and dying and don't know Jesus? And so I really wrote the Ping Life to say, what does a sustainable Christian life look like? And what is a path to a joyful, sustainable Christian life?
In the introduction, you make a note here that the Ping Life is a path to soul fulfillment, spirit-filled living, and ministry effectiveness. And then you say something that I think is really fascinating. I'd like you to break this down for me a little bit. The next sentence is you say it's an exit ramp from constant guilt. So what is the connection between listening to the Holy Spirit and being free from a sense of constant guilt?
Well, I think, first of all, religion is guilt-laden. And the reason is because guilt is a good business model. You get people feeling guilty. I mean, you can do all kinds of things with that. What does it look like when Jesus said, I've come to set the prisoners free? I've come that you might be free and free indeed. I've come that you might have life abundant. So often, I think we've been raised with so much religion in us that we all attended the first church of duty, guilt, and obligation. And we've been conditioned to do that. And so a lot of times it's almost like, I know I'm a Christian because I feel guilty. And I felt like Jesus came to give us something other than that, because my guess is we could have felt guilty without Jesus. Mm. So what does that really look like? How do we emerge from that do-gooder impulse that is fantastic? We want to make the world a better place. We want to help hurting people, but we can't help everybody. And then that evangelistic impulse that says, I want everybody to know Jesus, but I can't lead everybody to Jesus. How do we live our lives in the light of that tension that comes on both ends of a dichotomy that produces guilt? And that's really what I wanted to point at. And I wanted to try to help people emerge from, because I feel like in my own life, I have emerged from that orbit. And people will often say, man, you seem to have a lot of joy in your life. You got a lot of pep in your step. There's some energy in you. And I think part of it's because I've just emerged from that guilt-laden gravity that is so hardwired into Christianity.
Wow, boy. Yeah, preach that. I love that. It's just this sense of obligation, this idea that grace really is radical, that when you truly understand what grace is and you're free to listen to the Holy Spirit, respond, be in relationship with God, you get away from the need to kind of solve it all ourselves. And that's what this book helps to accomplish, isn't it?
Yeah. And yet we still want to be productive, right? We still want to have lives that matter. We want our lives to stand for something. So a lot of this is just, how do we develop a Christian baseline? And then how do we develop the ability to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit in such a way as we can say, okay, I've been fully obedient to God. Now I can enjoy a full and a wonderful life.
I haven't told you this before, but I actually think this is one of the most fundamental questions that a Christian asks. In fact, in my own ministry life, my first assignment, if you will, my first stop in ministry was to be a youth director at a Methodist church in Abilene, Texas in 1990. And the very first question I got in a ministry context was from this very sincere 13-year-old girl who came to me, and she'd just gone through confirmation. She said, "How do I know when it's the Holy Spirit?"
Yeah.
And that question I have heard my entire life from people in all kinds of contexts. And that's to some degree what you're trying to solve with this book, isn't it? That help understand. You got a whole chapter here on discernment.
Yeah, absolutely. How do we, I know I grew up an athlete, and you could be in a gym, you could be on a football field, and hundreds or thousands of people could be screaming, but you could always hear your coach. You somehow tuned in to his voice. So how do we tune in to the big V voice in a way that excludes or pushes out all those little V voices that are always kind of in our head? How do we learn to hear what's God, and how do we discern what is God and what's of God? I think that is a skill set that a lot of Christians simply aren't taught. And I think we're the lesser for not knowing it.
That in itself is a kind of a revolutionary idea, Shane, the idea that this is a skill set. I mean, you could equate it. I saw an article the other day that was talking about people make their best financial decisions at age 53 and 54. Like some study had been run, and it's a bit, it kind of implicit in that is this idea that it's a skill you develop, right? So you spend 20, 30 years. In fact, part of that study said the eureka moment for people was age 45. And you kind of finally figure it all out financially, right? And so in the same way, there's skills you develop as a Christian. There's skills you learn in terms of what it means to listen to the Spirit move and the Spirit talk to you.
I think absolutely. And think about this. Living as a person of faith in a fallen world where there actually is like a devil and stuff. So it's not like you're playing offense without a defense. It's hard. It's just hard. Why would we not think that we don't need to learn how to do that? Why would we not take best practices and incorporate them into our lives? Why would we just assume that we should intuitively know everything that we need to know?
Right.
For me, a lot of abundant Christian living, you're going to have to get out of the current of the stream to truly live it, because most people aren't. So what is the process? How do we learn to do this? I think it is a skill to be taught in many, many ways.
Love that. So my next question, maybe you've already kind of touched on it here. I was going to ask you what your big goals for this book are. When you wrote it, as it's been developing, and now here we are at launch day, what would you like to see happen as a result of this book being in the world?
I would love to see people walk away and say, wow, where has this been my whole life? If you look at the cover, and it's a short book, and as you like to say, I write short, punchy books that regular people actually read.
Yep.
You look at it, it feels like something maybe that's light. But you need to understand, I wrote a big hunk of this book sitting next to my wife while chemotherapy was being pumped into her. I edited most of this book on a bus ride south of the Sinai Peninsula in Egypt on pilgrimage. There's a depth to this that I hope people get. Somebody just sent me a text today and it said, wow, I got the book, but I didn't realize there was so much depth in this. This is really grist for rethinking how we live a Christian life. And it's really, I think there's so much hope hardwired into this that I can truly be pleasing to God and enjoy my life on earth as the gift that it is. I think that's revolutionary if people can catch a hold of it.
A lifetime of wisdom put into just a few pages, huh?
One of the few saving graces of getting older, along with grandchildren. Those are the only two things. Other than that, it's a downhill plunge. Those two things seem to have an upside.
That's so hopeful and encouraging. Thank you.
Yeah, right. That's encouraging. Thank you.
Okay, so here we are, launch day with Shane. We're talking about The Ping Life. It's now available on Amazon, also on inviteresources.com. It's something we're running today that is a kind of a new thing for us. We're going to try a a BOGO sale. This is only through Invite, not through Amazon. But if you go to inviteresources.com and use the promo code PINGBOGO, then you'll get an opportunity to get a second one at half off. And the purpose for this is entirely about ministry. Our hope is that you'll buy one for your own edification, for your own encouragement and enjoyment, and then also buy one for a good friend as well who might be asking the same question. So at inviteresources.com, and of course, as we always say, available at amazon.com as well. What's your final thought here, Shane, about your hopes for the Ping Life?
Well, one thing, Lynn, is that it doesn't really matter how good a book is if no one reads it. Yeah, I love a quote of yours. You said most book purchases are aspirational. We've all bought books thinking we were going to read them, and we haven't. We've all gotten into books and we've not finished. I really wanted to write a book that people would engage. I wanted to write a book that people would be excited about, that you pick that thing up. I always figure you got 4 pages to get them, and after that, it's done. I want to engage people. I want to bring them into this world that I call the Ping Life. I want to talk about what does it mean to have serious Christian baselines as a disciple of Jesus Christ, and what does it mean to listen to the Holy Spirit on top of that, and what does it mean to truly be free to not only serve God with all your heart and your soul and your mind, and to love God with your heart and your soul and your mind, but also just to realize life is not a sentence to be endured. Life is a gift to be celebrated. How can we make all of that work? And I believe it all works in Jesus Christ, and I'm calling that the Ping Life.
A joy that supersedes any circumstance that you might encounter in your life.
It's bigger than that.
Absolutely. Well, it is an honor to work on this book with you, Shane. I can't wait to see what happens in the world and how it blesses other people. Congratulations again on this book. And if you're watching today, go to amazon.com, help out the ranking, leave a review, help this book with all the algorithms there. And then also our special new BOGO sale on inviteresources.com if you use the promo code PINGBOGO to make that happen. Shane, thanks so much for this book and for our continued collaboration.
Lynn, being in partnership with you and with Invite Resources is an absolute joy. I love the idea that you're biased toward innovation. Let's open up our hearts to this new thing that God's doing. And I pray that this book is a real blessing to a whole lot of people.
Thank you. Blessings to your day. And to all of you watching, Ping Life by Shane L. Bishop.